What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm excited to have you here because I'm going to talk about some independent books and Kickstarter campaigns that I think are doing a great job and deserve some extra attention. So, while that intro rolls, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Welcome back. Time to get comfortable, because today we're going to be doing an indie spotlight where I'm going to go over a couple of different Kickstarter campaigns that have really caught my attention, as well as an independent book that I read some time ago, and when refreshing myself on it, I thought it would be exciting to tell everybody about. So, let's go ahead and get into it. The first one I want to talk about is called The OZ. This is written by David Pepose, art is by Ruben Rojas, the colors are by Whitney Kogar, and letters are by DC Hopkins. The OZ is a fantasy classic reimagined for comics. The OZ asks the question, what if the Hurt Locker took place in The Wizard of Oz? Dorothy defeated the Wicked Witch of the West and left the OZ behind. But that destroyed the balance of power, and it led to a civil war in Oz. This time the story is about Dorothy Gale, granddaughter to the original Dorothy, and a war veteran that is struggling with her own elements of war, PTSD. When a tornado rolls through Dorothy's town, she is transported to the war-torn battlefields of Oz. The preview pages show off expressive artwork that has a gritty shading to it that reminds me of something you would expect to see in a World War II style story, so that fits the war-torn backdrop of this land of Oz perfectly. There are some 9-panel grids and page layouts that show a solid sense of fundamentals of sequential art, and that makes me excited for this because it looks great from a texture standpoint and a setting standpoint, but at the same time it also shows that this artist knows what they're doing and we can expect them to be able to carry the weight of this story through the artwork. Check out the Kickstarter campaign. It is a very well designed campaign page, and it gives you all the information you need. I barely scratched the surface here. There's a section where he goes into the production and the actual creation of the book. For the people that really care about that side of things, if you want to know about what kind of paper is going to be used, how the books will be printed, all that kind of information is in there as well. There's also almost probably like 10 pages worth of content, and so that's really cool because this is a 44-page book, and the creators have made sure to put enough out forward to let you know what you're getting if you invest in this book. And so I think it's a really well constructed campaign. The funding has been going great. I highly suggest you jump on this one because it does sound like it's going to be a great thing. If you think you know the name David Pepose, just think Spencer and Locke and Going to the Chapel. These are two pretty high profile independent books that he got a lot of attention for, and so this is kind of his next offering. You want to know more about what this book is and why he went to Kickstarter with it, because he does a really good job of explaining all of that in his interviews. The Business of Independent Comic Book Publishing by Jamal Hennessy. This is a really cool Kickstarter. It's more of a novel or inside baseball kind of look into the business instead of a graphic novel. And I do think there's probably something really cool that could be done there in the style of maybe like Scott McCloud, where you get a graphic novel that also like digs into the business and the production side of everything. But regardless, this looks like a really cool Kickstarter. It's a comprehensive and easy to understand overview of the business of comic book publishing. It explains the business and legal concepts of the comics industry. Hennessy has over 2 decades of experience to break down the complex comics business into layman's terms. The book is edited by Aftershock Editor-in-Chief Mike Martz, and it features a foreword from writer and heavy metal executive editor Joseph P. Illidge. It was supposed to be released at New York Comic Con this year. Unfortunately, with the ongoing pandemic, that got canceled, And since there's unlikely to be any cons going on anytime soon, they've decided to turn to Kickstarter to release this book almost in a digital con, digital artist alley sort of way. So right now what they're looking for is the money to help offset the printing costs and the marketing costs associated with the book. As I understand it, the whole book has already been written. It's ready to go. They're just collecting the upfront payment so that they'll be able to pay their printer to get that first run of books out. And then from there, I'm sure this book will be even more widely available. Jamal Hennessy is another person that's popped up on several podcasts that I've listened to this week. And I just think he's a really interesting guy because he has this very long history. He's a lawyer. He's worked in law offices, and he's also worked a lot over the last 2 decades or so. He's been working specifically in comic book and publishing law. So he has a lot of insight. He's written a couple of different books, so this isn't his first go around with writing about the business. But what he's put together here is basically an instruction manual or a how to get your book published. He's not going to give you ideas to write a book, but once you know what kind of book you want to make, how you want to put it together, he gives you all the steps to figure out how you're going to handle your business. How is the money going to be handled? How are the rights and trademarks and properties and IPs, how is all that going to be handled down the road and in the future? And so it's a really interesting book if you're interested in the business of comic books. So that's on Kickstarter. It's called The Business of Independent Comic Book Publishing, and that's by Jamal Hennessy. Now, on to something a little more comical. God Puncher Volume 1. Tim Finley Wanted. This is by Lloyd Lane, and it is a collection of 5 issues of a comic that have been independently produced and released and everything over the last 2 years. So the creator, he wanted to put together basically a trade paperback collection of those first 5 issues. The art that's presented on the Kickstarter page looks absolutely goofy, but in a really fun and energetic way. In fact, I think they best describe it when they say this is fantasy with frantic action, comedy, and more punches than a boxing match. The Kickstarter is to fund the collection of the first 5 issues of God Puncher. In this arc, Tim Finley is being hunted by his arch nemesis, the Lord of Time, Cyrum. In March of 1973, the US government invented time travel. 3 weeks later, the technology was leaked. Time terrorists began remaking the present by unraveling the past. Purity Control was created to stop them. Their time band technology protects your personal timeline from being altered. By law, everyone is required to wear one, cradle to grave. And so that kind of sums up the backdrop that this story is set against. The story itself follows 2 detectives. I would say that their story plays out a lot like a police procedural, something like Law and Order, but at the same time it has a lot more character depth than that, more akin to True Detective. This book was a lot of fun. It was really interesting. There's great time travel in here. I love the technology idea of the time band and the idea that there's time terrorists and that they are able to affect people. Therefore, there's this time band technology. Therefore, you have a situation where people need the protection, but maybe they don't fully understand the repercussions of not having it. This first issue was a lot of fun. I don't know if or where the second issue is at, but I really do hope that there's more of this to come.